All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and fire up the 404. And despite what my cover sticker here might have you believe, this is actually a 404SX and not a 404A. This is not going to be a video about how to chop up samples. I'm going to assume that you already have some samples chopped up and ready to go. So the first thing that you want to do at the start is to go to where all of your sample chops are. Mine happen to be in bank C, and here's what some of these sound like. And then I also have on the bottom 4 my drums. To switch the 404 over to the pattern sequencing mode, all you have to do is press pattern select. Now we're on pattern select, bank C, and what we need to do is hit record, and that will tell the 404 that we're ready to record a pattern. And now it's going to ask us, using these blinking lights, which pad we want to record the pattern to, and I'm going to choose 1 because that's the most logical for me. And the first thing I do is hit start end level. That will allow you, with this control knob 3 here on the far right, that will allow you to control the metronome volume. One thing you might want to consider though is if you don't know what BPM you want to make the beat at, what I usually do in that situation is turn it all the way down to 0 and then hit start end level again to go back to where we were originally so that we can adjust the BPM for what we want to record the pattern to. So you hit time BPM and it's going to ask you what BPM you want to be at. So I'm going to tap the tempo here because maybe I don't know what it is. Okay, it's saying that's 88. I personally know with this beat right here, I want it to be a little faster, and I know that I actually wanted it to be at 97, but do whatever you want to do for the beat that you're making. So now I'm going to go back to start end level, and I'm going to turn the metronome back up to where it was. So now that we've got the BPM set up, what I like to do is tell the 404 what length of the pattern I want it to be in bars. You can actually go all the way up to 99 here. And then I'm going to choose 4 bars for this beat. Now go ahead and hit length to go back to where we were originally. And then what you can also do, which I'll cover when we do the drums, is quantize. And there's a couple of cool things you can do with it, but for right now I'm just going to record the sample chops just so we can get into the thick of it right away. What we need to do is hit record, and once you do that you'll see the countdown start, and it's going to count down from 4, and then on the next downbeat is when it'll start recording what you do. What I like to do is hit record, and then once the countdown finishes, hit record again so that it goes into what's called rehearsal mode, and I'll show you that right now. That allows you to practice what you want to do before you actually lay it down. So here we go, let's try one. So now I hit record again, and it says REH, and that means it's in rehearsal mode. So now whatever I do, I can practice my sample chops, and I won't actually lay it down until I'm ready. So let's go ahead and get a little vibe together here with just the chops, and then we'll add the drums in after that. Something like that. All right. So now that we are ready to lay it down for real, we're going to hit record again, and then that's going to put us back into record mode. Wow. That was just a demonstration to show you that you need to check your battery level before you start vibing out, or at least make sure that it's plugged in, which I've done now. Let's just pretend like that never happened though. All right, let's go ahead and lay down the chops that we just rehearsed onto pattern 1. Once you're done recording, go ahead and hit cancel, and then that will stop the loop recording process. All right, here we go. Let's say that I wasn't happy with the way that I played those chops. What I could do is I could delete the pattern. So you hit delete, and then you hit the pattern that you'd like to delete, and then you hit delete again to confirm. And now we don't have a pattern anymore. Now let's say that I didn't like how I played the number 3 chop on the first, call it bar. What I can do is go back and erase just that section that I did. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So let's go back and fix what we just laid down on pattern 1. And we're going to do that by arming to record. And then it's going to ask us which pattern or patterns we want to edit. And you can tell that you've already laid a pattern down on the pad because it's going to be the only one that's not blinking. So let's go ahead and choose one. You can still select it. And the process here is that I'm going to first hit record, which will start the countdown, and then I'm going to press delete. And that will put it into erase mode, and you'll see it say ERS. And then I'm going to hold down the pad that I want to erase for the duration that I want to erase it for. So it's like the loop is happening in real time, and then you can set the eraser down and erase, and then pick it back up when you're ready to go back and re-record what you want to fix. So let's go ahead and do that. Here's a countdown. Press delete, put it in erase mode. And now you'll see once you hit cancel, it'll confirm what you just erased. And now we have a blank space in the first bar, so we can go and add those chops again. So just to make things really clear, I stopped the erasing process, and now I'm going to restart the recording process. So you just get a chance to get the steps cemented into your brain. And then I'm just going to lay down that first bar that I wanted to do better. Here we go, arm it. Select the pattern we want to record to. The countdown starts. Alright, that one felt a little better to me. Cool, so now that we've got the chops laid down, what we can do is add the drums, which is obviously my favorite part. But what I like to do at this point in the process is actually copy the pattern that we just laid down and then add the drums onto the copied layer. This allows us to do a couple of things. The first one is that it allows us to save those chops on their own and sort of mark their progress with them. So you can add variations later on. And it also allows us, if we want to track out to our DAW for mixing later on, we'll have separate parts of the arrangement that we can work with. The way you copy the pattern from one pad to another is you hold function and you hit 1, and you'll notice that it says copy underneath, and that's how you access the copy function. And then it's saying, which layer do you want to copy? We want to copy the first layer, which is the pattern that we just laid down. And then there's all these blinking lights that are saying, where do you want to copy it to? So we're going to copy it to pad 2, and then we're going to hit record to confirm that. And now we have a copy of what we just did. So let's lay the drums down and record it onto pad 2. And what I'm going to do is arm it to record, and then I'm going to select the pad that I want to record to, which is obviously 2 now. And then I'll wait for the countdown to start, go back into rehearsal mode just like we did last time. Same exact process, but the only difference here is that I'm going to actually quantize the very first kick, because if you start the kick too early before the countdown is finished, then it won't lay it down and you'll have a blank space there and you'll have to add it back later. It's just kind of a pain to get it exactly on the downbeat. So one thing you can do is quantize the very first kick and only the first kick. And the way you do that is by selecting the pad that you want to record the pattern to, hit quantize, and then it's saying that the quantize amount is set to 0. So we want to go to the biggest denomination because that gives us the most leeway in either direction that it will correct to, if that makes sense. So if it was on 16th notes, you'd have a smaller window to get it right. So a quarter note is actually the biggest denomination that you can use. These last two are for swing, but we won't get into that just now. Now we have it quantizing to quarter notes, and all we're going to do is lay down that first kick, and then we'll be set to go for the rest of the kicks to put whatever humanized feel we want to on there. So let's do that. All right. So now we hear the kick is dead on. That's exactly what we want. So now let's go ahead and lay down the rest of the kicks and maybe the snares if I'm feeling like I want to add both of those at the same time. Or you can do all the drums if you want, just different strokes for different folks. But let's lay that down right now. Put it in record mode. Pattern 2 is what we've been working on. Here goes the countdown. I actually want to add another kick on the downbeat maybe, on 2 and 4, so let's do that. Cool, and now we can keep recording, and we don't have to stop and start every single time, so let's add the snares now, once it rolls back to bar 1. Okay, so with the hats, actually what I want to do is to quantize them to go to the quarter notes just like we did with the first downbeat kick. So let's do that. Put it in record. And then set the quantize to quarter notes just like we did, and then hit record. One thing you need to remember to do is to hit quantize again though. Make sure that it's on when you're recording. Now we're going to wait for it to circle back. So now we have a pattern with just the chop sample on there, and then we also have our second pattern with the chop sample and the drums on there. So what if you wanted to make a quick variation on the chop sample plus drums pattern so that it keeps it interesting for the listener? What I like to do then is, once again, hit function 1, and then that allows us to copy, so it's asking us what we would like to copy. Pattern 2, and we'd like to copy it over to pattern 3 is what I'm going to choose. Hit record to confirm. Alright, so this will be good for you guys to watch because it will solidify the whole overdubbing process for you. So we're going to go ahead and arm it. Select pattern 3 because that's what we want to overdub, and then we're going to put it back in record mode, and once the countdown is finished, we'll go to put it in erase mode. Sometimes I'll turn off erase mode to check where we are in the beat. 3, 2, 3, 4. So when this circles back around to the 4th bar, I'm going to delete pads 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to add something else, okay? Do I have your permission? Alright. So now that we've taken it off erase mode, we're back in loop recording mode, so we can add whatever we want. And that's the thing about the process of using this. I just think it's really fun. You know, you get to hear it looping, but you can kind of add and take away stuff on the fly based on whatever you're feeling, and that's what I like about it. One other thing that we should go over is how to implement the swing function via Quantize to your drums. Let's copy over the chop samples from pattern 1 over to pattern 4, and then that will be like our swing quantized drums part of the song. Once again, function copy 1 over to 4, record to confirm, and now it's there. So we're going to put it in record mode. 4 is what we want to record to. And then let's change the quantize to, let's do swung 16th notes. And then the only other thing that needs adjusting is the swing amount. Now the manual says that 50 is not swung at all really, and then most things will fall nicely between 60 and 70. I'm partial to 69 for this one. So let's see how that sounds and lay some new drums down using the same process, and we'll see what the 404 does by quantizing and swinging our drums a little bit. Okay, so that's sounding pretty good. Obviously the swing amount is going to vary for the tempo. Like the slower it gets, the more specific you need to get with the value that you like. But this is pretty fast as far as beats go. This is at 97, so Cool, so now that we've got the basics behind the beat together, one thing I like to do now is to make a drums only loop. So what I'll do is copy over, function 1, copy either of them. I'll choose maybe the one that we just did. Move that over to 5, and then that'll be our drums only loop, or drums only pattern, I should say. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back into erase mode and then just erase the chops that we did on top of this pattern. So arm it to record, select pattern 5 because that's what we want the drums only pattern to be. It's gonna start counting down, and once it finishes the countdown,
erasing.
There you go. Now we have a drums only loop. And when we track it out, we can have the chops, we can have the chops plus the drums, and then we'll also have a variation, and then the drums alone. And you'll be able to mix it however you see fit. One other cool thing that I like to mess around with too is that when you're playing your pattern, take it off pattern select, and then now you're seeing all of your samples play out in real time. And what you can do is put effects on different samples. So if you wanted it to sound a little bit more lo-fi, you can do the classic vinyl sim on 16. And then if you hold remain, you can put it on all of the chops that you did to make it sound a little bit more lo-fi. Classic. Alright guys, that's it. That's my basic process with the pattern sequencer. If you do have any questions about any part of the process, please leave me a comment below and I will do my best to answer in a little bit more detail. And until the next video, I'll see you later.